If you were to take a few moments and reflect on your life, there are particular moments, that one decision, that one book, that one conversation that transformed your life. Today, I'm going to share with you 10 of those one things that happened and transformed my life and share my story. And so you get to know a little bit about those transformative moments and a little bit about me. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Taylor DeGrande. I work here with Bet David Consulting with Patrick Bet David at Valuetainment. So how did I get here? And I'm going to start with those 10 things, but I'm actually going to start with number 10 and then lead my way up to number 1 of the one thing that can transform your life. And it all started with that one book. Many of you have probably read this book. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And how I came to actually read this book, it was Mother's Day. I was going out to brunch with my family, and my uncle, who is a developer up in northern Michigan, for those of you who don't know, I'm from a smaller town in Michigan, and I have a lot of respect for my uncle. He is a great father, great role model, businessman, great brother, son, and for someone whose father is no longer in their life, he was someone I could look up to. So when he recommended that book, I took it seriously and I read it right away. And that book changed the way I thought, because I wasn't someone who was particularly good in school, especially compared to my friends. And so reading this book, I was like, I don't have to have the PhD. I don't have to be at the top of my class in order to be successful. That's the whole thesis of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and how they think. And so that book enticed me to learn more about real estate. And for those of you who read and you're entrepreneurs, I'm going to be starting a book club. So you can check my newsletter for updates for that. I'm going to have a book club for entrepreneurs. But that one book led me to making that one decision to learn about real estate. And I started learning everything I could about real estate. I listened to a podcast every single day. Some of you may know about Bigger Pockets. Now they've grown a lot since then, but they had a lot of great tools, podcasts, books. I read more of Robert Kiyosaki's books, like The Strategy Quadrant. I think that's what it's called, The Strategy Quadrant. I read more books on real estate, and I would just try and learn as much as I could when it came to real estate. And that one decision to start learning about real estate led me to going to my first event, which was that one event. It was a weekend boot camp for real estate by Daymond John. I didn't know much about it. At this time, I'm working at Sears corporate office. I'm an assistant buyer, an associate buyer in the jewelry department, making probably $42,000 to $50,000 a year, nothing crazy. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn this thing called real estate because I want to start investing in real estate. And so I went to this 2-day boot camp, this one event. I had no idea what I was doing. I paid $2,000 to go. I was trying to get a friend to go with me so I didn't have to go alone, because $2,000 would pay for 2 tickets. And I couldn't find a friend to go with me because I lived in another state where most of my friends and family none of my friends and family lived in. I was living in Illinois at this point. So I asked my mom to come with me. And I was like, Mom, my mom's a realtor. I was like, you don't have to pay for anything. It's on me, but I would like you to come with me and be a part of this with me. So that event, honestly, I don't even know what I really learned about the event. I mean, they talked about real estate flipping. They talked about wholesaling. Like, there was information. It opened my mind. But that one event, the thing that I got out of it was one of the speakers up stage. It was a small event. Said to just start going to meetups in your local area and start meeting real estate investors in your local area, and you can learn from one of them. And so there was also, at the end, they upsell the event. It was like $2,000, which I paid for, making $42,000, $50,000 a year. I work in the consulting division here at Bet David Consulting now, and I always find it a little humorous as far as like entrepreneurs and all these people who want to do big things are hesitant to invest in themselves when it comes to events or masterminds or education. I was making like $42,000 a year, and I was like, $2,000 for an event over the weekend that hopefully I can learn something about real estate? Done. Easy. But that's one thing you'll learn about me. I'm a really easy sell. Benefits me in sales because I'm an easy sell. But that event led me to being there. At the end, they had a $48,000 upgrade where they would train you on how to do real estate flipping. Thank God my mom was with me to be like, Taylor, no, what are you doing? You don't even know what you're doing. You're not going to go invest $48,000. Not that I had $48,000 at the time, but I would have probably bought it because I would just wanted to learn. And so my mom was the more rational one of the two, and she was like, what are you talking about? Go to some of these meetups and meet some people and learn. I was like, okay. So thank you, Mom, for being more rational than I was at this time. And so I did exactly that. I started going to meetups in my local area, and I ended up going to this one where I'm sitting there and he's talking about wholesaling. He's talking about wholesaling and finding properties and then finding investors, and you don't need the money because you're that middleman between the actual property, the seller in distress, or the actual investor who's going to buy the property. And so while I'm at that event, this one question that I raised my hand, and some of you may not know, I'm actually an introverted person. I was super, super shy growing up. So this question, I would always ask the question, but I'd be super nervous to do it. And so I'm sitting there at this meetup and I raise my hand, and the guy on stage calls on me, and I go, so do I find the properties first, or do I find the investors with money first? Okay, I see it, I understand it, but what do I do first? The chicken before the egg kind of thing. And that one question that I asked led him to coming up to me after the event, and he's like, hey, had a conversation with me. That one question led to that one conversation. And that one conversation was like, hey, I know you seem like you're ambitious, you're looking to be connected with the right people, looking to get into real estate. I have a meetup that we host every single Tuesday, 7 p.m. Go meet us there. It's going to be next Tuesday. I'm like, okay, perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, at this point, I'm getting invited to a meetup with some investors that led the previous event that I was at. And it all started with me reading one book, making that one decision to get into real estate, to go to that one event where I had that one question that led me to that one conversation, to now me being at this meetup that they would host. I went for a year. They would host every single Tuesday or every other Tuesday, one of the two, at 7 p.m. It was 20 minutes from my house. I would go after work. And mind you, I'm super nervous. I'm super shy. I was forced to break out of my shell and have these conversations, especially moving from Michigan. I'm now living in Illinois. I have no friends. I have no family. So being an introverted, shy person, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because I was forced to speak to people. I was forced to step out of my comfort zone. So I'm at this meetup now, and they go around introducing themselves. And I'm like, hi, my name is Taylor. I'm a buyer at Sears Corporate Office. I'm looking to learn how to invest in real estate. And when I made that introduction, it led me to the one connection that changed my life, totally transformed my life. And that's to Chris Davis. Shout out to Chris Davis. If you see this, my mentor, my friend, who is also a realtor, broker, and an investor over in Illinois. He is the owner of Inspire Realty over in Elgin, Illinois. And he was like, hey, I am both a realtor and I am a real estate investor. I have 80 plus units within this area, multiple properties. I do mostly multi-units. I would love to help you. And so I'm 23 at this point. That's when I bought my first investment property. From all of that one connection, Chris Davis, led me to buying my first property, that one property that was a multi-unit. And now, mind you, Chris didn't just help me buy the property and that was it. He became my mentor. He taught me how he invested in real estate, what type of loans he took, what kind of money he used, how much he put down. He did a 15-year note, why he did that, why he did multi-units, what did he look for. So I learned so much from someone who has already achieved a lot more than I have at this point, who is willing to take me under his wing. And all of that was because of one moment in my life that transformed where I was. And that one connection with Chris Davis, he was like, why don't you just come work with me? And I will say I'm a byproduct of other people seeing something in me before I see it in myself. But I'm someone who also takes action. I'm like, okay, sure. So I'm working at Sears corporate office. I'm also doing real estate on the side, trying to figure that out. I want to go full-time in real estate, but I'm like, okay, when's the right time? Thankfully, I worked for, not thankfully, it was an interesting experience, worked for Sears corporate office. As many of you know, Sears is on the verge of a bankruptcy at this point, and it was very apparent. And so I wanted to go full-time real estate, but I was like, okay, I'm probably going to get laid off soon. So I also want the severance package. And so thankfully, but not so thankfully, because it's a really weird dynamic, some people worked there for 40 years and they took 50 of us in a room and they're like, hey, this is what's going on. You're all getting laid off. Here's your severance packages. Take a binder and go walk. And I'm like, okay. So that was a super interesting experience, to say the least. But I went to do real estate full time with Chris and we crushed it. Our first year together, he was top producer at his brokerage and he's like, hey, I want to open up my own brokerage. Will you be a part of it with me? I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this. So I got to not only get into real estate because of him, I got to assist him with opening his own brokerage, learned a lot, and I bought my first, that one real estate property. I was 23 years old. It was a 2-unit property over in Elgin, Illinois in the historical district. So I house hacked. I lived in one unit and I rented out the other, living for free. And at that time, I bought the house, I believe, for about $117,000. It was back in 2017. And I bought it with 3% down seller's finance, conventional loan. I also, not seller's finance, 3% down conventional loan. And I got $3,000 in seller's concessions, I believe. And at that point in time, there was a first-time home buyers program where I got money down to assist me with the purchase. So all in all, my first property, I had $1,100 out of pocket, which is crazy. So it worked out amazing. I was living for free because my tenants covered my full amount of my mortgage. And I put about $10,000 into the property, just small updates for when I rented it and some things in my unit. And so I lived for free for that time period. And with that, I gave me the opportunity to pay off my car, pay off all my student loans. So I was debt free. I was making good money in real estate. I started investing in other things. And then I sold my property in 2021 for $200,000. So I bought it for $117,000, sold it for $200,000, made at that point in time, and for my first property, a good return on my investment. And so I was like, all right, what's next? I want to move to Florida. And I've been saying this since high school. For over a decade, I've been saying I wanted to move to Florida. I was like, I'm just going to sell my house and I'm going to figure it out. And at this point in time, I've known of Patrick Bet David, Valuetainment for 4 years. And I sold my house. I moved back to Michigan. I'm living with my mom because I'm like, okay, I'm going to move to Florida. I'm just going to figure it out. I'll work as a waitress. I don't know what I'll do. I'll start a business. I want to start a clothing company. I have no idea how to start a business, but I was going to figure it out and I was going to move to Florida. So I'm in the car with my mom. It's December 2021. And I put on, Patrick post a 5-minute video on Valuetainment. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this. It's that one YouTube video. That one video that I watched, and he goes, I'm going to take a break from some of the content, spend some time with family, but Valuetainment's growing and we're hiring. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, Valuetainment's hiring? And like, I watched Patrick for 4 years at this time. I knew he was a part of PHP. I actually went to one of PHP's recruitment meetings back in Chicago, Matt Sapala's office. It was like a Tuesday evening. I was invited there by one of the guys I actually met at the real estate boot camp that I was at. And I was just interested because I loved Patrick. So I was like, yeah, I'll go check it out. I love Patrick, but I wasn't interested in selling life insurance at that time. But it was super fun to see the culture that I now am a part of in a different capacity because I'm at Valuetainment, but they speak a lot about PHP. There was dancing, there was Jordans, it was high energy, it was 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. So I actually knew of PHP. I knew of who Patrick was, but I didn't know Valuetainment was an organization. I didn't know it was a business. I thought it was just a YouTube channel because I looked at Daily Wire at this point. They had a bunch of different talents. Like, okay, I could conceptualize that it was a business. But this one video told me that I could go work for Patrick Bet-David. And I'm like, I'm going to go work for Patrick Bet-David. Like, wherever this man's going, I want to be a part of it. Like, I love everything that he's doing. And so that prompted me to make a decision right away. That evening, I got home, I redid my resume, I applied the next day. I didn't even care what position it was going to be. I was going to go work at Valuetainment for Patrick Bet-David. And so I was mildly stalking our HR director, Robert, on LinkedIn, because I was about to be in Florida for vacation. I was going down to the Keys and then New Smyrna with my family. So I wanted to get an interview while I was there. And so that one YouTube video led me to getting that one interview with Mario Aguilar, who is the Chief Sales Officer here with Bet-David Consulting. He's been with Patrick now 18 years. I got a 20-minute interview with Robert. I was blowing up his phone in a respectful way, nothing too crazy, but I am persistent, I will say that. And so got a 20-minute interview. I'm all the way up in New Smyrna. It's 3 hours north. And Mario's like, can you be here in an hour? And I'm like, no, I'm 3 hours north. And he's like, okay, come tomorrow this time. So I rented a car, drove 3 hours south to Pompano or Boca. At this point, they're in Boca. I go into the interview, and on my resume, I put what books I read, I put my investments, I put why I love Patrick, and I put my YouTube channel, because your girl was putting videos on YouTube. I was a little controversial. I saw what was going on. I didn't like it, and I was very vocal about it. And so I put that on there, and my channel was called Tea with Taylor, because I would drink tea and I would say what was on my mind. And so I get into the interview, and Mario goes, Tea with Taylor, why do you want to work here? And without a hesitation, I go, because we're going to save America. And so that one interview has given me the opportunity to achieve my wildest dreams, because I know everything that I've ever dreamt of, and I've always been a dreamer of having my own business, having influence, making a positive impact, having a purpose, standing by the values and principles that America is founded on. That opportunity is possible here at Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David and Bet-David Consulting. Anyone who ever asks me, they'll ask me, what's your, if you could sum up working for Valuetainment? And what I say every time is, if you could be somewhere where you feel you could reach your full potential, if you have the will, if you have the audacity to put in the work, to put in the effort, and to outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast, you can reach your full potential here at Valuetainment. And it is an absolute privilege to be here and work for Patrick Bet-David. The man is an artist. Many of you know of him as the businessman, and some of you probably study him more thoroughly. But the way he communicates, the way he strategizes, the way he leads his people, the way he drives competition, how he's demanding his expectations, but he's also caring, and he's around enough where you feel as if you know him, but he's away where you miss his presence. Like, the man is a performer in so many ways, and it is a privilege to be mentored by him and to learn from him and to watch the way he is growing Valuetainment and Bet-David Consulting, that I believe without a doubt Valuetainment will be the largest media empire the world has ever seen. The world has known, because he's willing to have debates, conversations. We're going to tap into the hearts and minds of around the world and bring the love of capitalism, entrepreneurship, family, values, and principles to the communities, and also build the most influential consulting division that the world has also known. We're going to compete with all of the big names. We're going to shine a light on our heroes who are entrepreneurs, who create opportunities, financial freedom. I have no doubt that all of this is going to be all of this is possible. All of this will happen underneath Patrick's leadership. If you guys only knew what he has envisioned for Valuetainment, Bet-David Consulting, and education, everything that's going to happen, if you only knew, it's just a matter of time. It's very exciting. But that one interview led me to this opportunity. It all started with that one book that was Rich Dad Poor Dad, that one decision to learn about real estate, that one event, to go to a real estate event where I asked that one question that led me to that one conversation, that invited me to a meetup that led me to that one connection. That was Chris Davis, who was my mentor, helped me buy my first property, that one real estate property that allowed me to pay off all my debt and to put a decent amount of money into my savings to then go move to Florida and watch. And during that transition, that one YouTube video that allowed me the opportunity to know that I could work for Patrick Bet-David and Valuetainment, which got me that one interview that landed me the job to work here in the consulting division with entrepreneurs from all over the world, all different industries, who are working directly with PBD through consulting events, and I get to be a part of that. And it's all possible because of the number one thing, and that one thing is God. Without a shadow of doubt, without anything other than fully believing that ultimately I have everything that I have is because of him. And he is the creator of the heaven and the earth. In a world of relativity, he is the only thing that is constant. And I know that all that I have is because of him. I love the psalm that says, I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with mine eye. Because when I reflect on my life, and I may have not noticed it in real time, but when I reflect on my life, all I see is God. There's decisions that at the time didn't make sense. And I look back and I'm like, got it. And it's only God, that one thing, that gives me peace. Working for Patrick Bet-David, as exciting as it is, there's a lot of, you guys, if you follow him, the expectations are high, the standards are high, the expectations are high, the standards are high. We're going to take over the world. And no one says that was going to be easy, but as much success as I have in my life, no matter how far I go in my life, I will always give the glory back to God, because it is not me, but it is through he that got me to where I'm at. And so all of those 10 different one things led me to where I am today, here within Bet-David Consulting and working for Patrick Bet-David, for a company with values and principles and a mission to enlighten, empower, and entertain current and future leaders around the world. And I am just getting started. I am so excited for the future. And so I challenge all of you to reflect on your life. What was that one book, that one decision, that one event, that one connection, that one conversation that transformed your life? And what is that one thing that you have to do today to transform your life to who you ought to be? And you are only one book, one conversation, one introduction away from transforming your life. And if you're looking for that one event that will transform your life, Patrick is hosting his Vault Conference, his main event. There's going to be 3,000 entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders, all different industries, all across the globe, here in South Florida, August 30th through September 2nd. And everyone's coming for that one thing said on stage, that one connection, that one conversation that's going to transform their life. And this is the event for that. So if you're interested in learning more, let me know. If you found this valuable, consider sharing. And if you're an entrepreneur and you like to read, I am starting a book club. Subscribe to my newsletter. I'm going to be launching the date here very soon. And I appreciate you joining me. Would love to hear what your one thing was that transformed your life. Put it in the comments. And until next time, I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining me, and take care.